I stood back, letting the shadows near the fitting rooms swallow me whole. Across the plush carpet of the boutique, my sister, Emma, was living a moment I remembered all too well. She was trying on the dress, a sweep of champagne silk that shimmered under the store lights. My dress, the one I'd worn to prom in my first life, right before disaster struck. Emma spun in front of the large, ornate mirror, a dazzling smile plastered on her face. "Mom, get a picture. Isn't it perfect?" Our mother obliged, her phone clicking away. "Oh, Emma, honey, you look stunning. Absolutely breathtaking." Neither of them knew. They didn't know this wasn't the first time I'd seen Emma in this dress. They didn't know I remembered the sticky sweet splash of fruit punch soaking into the delicate fabric just minutes before the prom photos were supposed to happen. They didn't know I remembered Emma's fake gasp, her mumbled, "Oops, clumsy me." They certainly didn't know I remembered her later stealing my date, Tyler, leaving me heartbroken and confused. Emma had a talent for taking things that were mine, eventually stripping away everything I cared about. But this time was different. I felt the crisp edge of a receipt tucked safely inside my purse. It was for a different dress, a golden one, bought weeks ago from a small designer shop in the city, far from here. A dress Emma knew nothing about. Emma caught my eye in the mirror, her smile faltering just a fraction. "You're not upset I found it first, are you, sis? We have similar taste, I guess." I forced a neutral expression, stepping out of the shadows. "Take it," I said, my voice even. "Honestly, Emma, it suits you perfectly." And it did. It suited the girl who lived for the spotlight, even if she had to snatch it from someone else. I knew exactly how tonight and prom night would unfold. This time, I was ready. Back home, the familiar weight of the house settled around me. I bypassed the living room where Mom was likely still cooing over the photos of Emma and headed straight upstairs. My bedroom felt like the only safe space, a sanctuary holding secrets they couldn't touch. I pulled out the sleek black leather journal from under my mattress. It wasn't just a diary, it was a record. A map of the past I was determined not to repeat. My fingers traced the entries, words written in hurried, sometimes tear-blurred ink from the early days after my rebirth. Page after page detailed Emma's betrayals, small and large. Borrowed sweaters returned stained, secrets whispered to the wrong people, lies told to make herself look better. Then there was Mom, her blatant favoritism a constant ache. Emma was the golden child, destined for greatness, while I was, well, just there. And Liam, my best friend Liam. His betrayal cut almost as deep as Emma's, choosing popularity, choosing her side when it mattered most. The memory still stung. A shiver ran down my spine as I flipped to the entry detailing the end of my first life. Prom night. Rain slicked the roads. I'd found Emma and Tyler, my Tyler back then, pressed against the wall just outside the rented hall, locked in a kiss that shattered my world. Blinded by tears and rage, I'd run, jumped into my car, ignoring the calls and texts. The rain was a curtain, the road a blur, then screeching tires, a sickening crunch of metal, and darkness. Waking up here, months earlier, with all the memories intact, was both a curse and a second chance. "Dinner!" Mom's call echoed up the stairs, pulling me from the darkness of the journal. Downstairs, the atmosphere was thick with Emma's success. She chattered excitedly about her acceptance letters, mostly to the same private universities Mom had always dreamed of for her. "And the campus is just gorgeous, Mom," Emma gushed, pushing a glossy brochure across the table. "They have the best business program." Mom beamed. "I knew you could do it, sweetie. You have so much potential." She glanced at me, her smile tightening slightly. "Did you hear back from State University yet?" "I got my acceptance last week, Mom," I said quietly, "and the scholarship offer came through yesterday." "Oh, well, that's practical," she murmured, already turning back to Emma. "Emma has always had that spark, you know? The drive your sister seems to lack sometimes." My hand tightened under the table, but I kept my face smooth. I subtly slid my phone out, resting it on my lap, and pressed record. Her words, casually cruel, were now saved. Evidence. Not for a big reveal, not yet. Just for me, a reminder. School the next day was another stage for the same play. I saw Tyler leaning against Emma's locker, his familiar, charming smile directed solely at her. In my past life, he'd been my boyfriend at this point. Now he was just the popular guy I supposedly had a crush on, and Emma was working her magic. The old me would have felt a pang of jealousy, maybe even cried in the bathroom. The new me walked right up to them. "Hey," I said, injecting a confidence I didn't entirely feel but knew how to fake. "Tyler, Emma, I was thinking that calculus test next week looks brutal. Maybe we could do a group study session? My place? Maybe Friday?" Tyler looked surprised, then pleased. "Yeah, sounds good actually. I could use the help." Emma narrowed her eyes slightly, probably wondering why I wasn't acting hurt or jealous. "Sure," she agreed, though her tone was wary. "Perfect. Let them wonder. Let them think I was trying to get closer to Tyler. Let the seeds of my plan take root." Later, Liam caught up to me by my locker, his expression earnest. "Hey, can I talk to you for a sec?" "Sure, Liam. What's up?" He glanced around, lowering his voice. "Look, I know it's none of my business, but be careful with Emma, around Tyler. I think she's really going after him." He looked genuinely concerned, playing the part of the loyal best friend, the part he'd abandoned before. Instead of dissolving into gratitude or tears like I might have before, I gave him a casual smile. "Thanks for the heads up, Liam. I appreciate you looking out for me." Then, shifting gears smoothly, I added, "So, how's the college stuff going? Did you finish your application for Princeton?" "That's amazing." His face went pale just for a second, but I caught it. Princeton. The prestigious acceptance he'd bragged about endlessly in our past life. The one I later found out he'd faked parts of his application for. Yeah, almost done," he stammered. "Cool," I continued, keeping my tone light and friendly. "My Uncle David works in admissions there, you know. Small world, right? Maybe he'll even read your application." Liam swallowed hard, his eyes darting away. "Oh, wow. Yeah, small world." He mumbled an excuse and hurried off. Good, let him sweat. Let them all start to feel a little less comfortable in the predictable world they thought they controlled. A few days later, I came home to find my laptop missing from my desk. Panic, cold and familiar, tried to grip me, but I pushed it down. I knew who had it. I walked quietly down the hall to Emma's room. The door was slightly ajar. Peeking in, I saw her sitting at her own desk, my laptop open in front of her. She was scrolling through something intently, my college essays. My heart pounded, but not with fear this time. It was a cold, calculating rhythm. I waited until she got up and went to the bathroom, then slipped into her room. Sure enough, my essay file was open, and minimized at the bottom of the screen, her email account. An email sat in her drafts folder addressed to herself with my essay attached. She hadn't even bothered to be subtle. The old me would have stormed in, yelling, crying, demanding an explanation. The new me simply sat down, plugged in a tiny USB drive I now carried everywhere, and quickly installed a keylogger program. It took less than a minute. Then, I closed everything, wiped the recent history, and shut the laptop down. I placed it back on her desk exactly where she'd left it. When she came back from the bathroom, humming, she didn't notice a thing. I slipped out, undetected. That night at dinner, Mom dropped the bomb I knew was coming, though the timing was slightly different this life. "Girls," she began, setting down her fork with unusual seriousness. "Your father and I have been looking at the finances. With tuition costs being what they are, we can likely only afford to send one of you to a private university next year." Emma shot me a look across the table. It wasn't subtle. It was pure, unadulterated triumph. She thought she had it in the bag. Her grades were slightly better this time around, partly thanks to borrowing my homework ideas, I suspected. And she had Mom firmly in her corner. I felt the familiar sting of being deemed secondary, disposable. But this time, I didn't let it show. I simply murmured, "Oh, okay. Thanks for letting us know, Mom." I picked at my salad, feigning disappointment. Then, I excused myself. "I need to grab something from my room." In the kitchen, hidden from view, I pulled a thick envelope from my backpack which I'd left near the door. Inside was an acceptance letter not from State University, but from a prestigious, highly competitive arts program on the West Coast. A program I hadn't even considered in my past life. This time, fueled by the knowledge of how things could turn out, I'd secretly worked on a portfolio for months. And attached to the acceptance? A notification of a full, merit-based scholarship covering tuition, room, and board. Something Mom couldn't control or redirect. I tucked it back into my bag before returning to the table, my expression carefully neutral. Over the next week, I monitored the keylogger logs remotely. Just as I suspected, Emma tweaked a few sentences in my essay, changed the title, and submitted it as her own to her top-choice private university, the same one Mom was pinning all her hopes on. My blood boiled, but I didn't make a move against her directly. Instead, I scheduled a meeting with Mrs. Davison, the English teacher who knew my writing style best. "Mrs. Davison," I started, feigning slight confusion after we discussed my own college plans. I had a quick, kind of weird question. I was browsed some online essay forums the other day, just looking for inspiration. And I saw an essay that felt really familiar, almost identical to the personal statement I workshopped in your class last month. Mrs. Davison frowned. "Oh, that's concerning. Do you remember where you saw it?" "I didn't save the link, unfortunately," I lied smoothly. "But it was submitted under a different student's name. I just thought it was strange. Probably just a coincidence, right?" Her eyes sharpened. "Maybe, or maybe not. Plagiarism is a serious issue, especially with college applications. Thanks for bringing it to my attention." Discreetly. I knew Mrs. Davison was also on the school's scholarship committee and had connections with admissions counselors at various universities. The seed was planted. The school assembly for academic awards arrived a week later. I sat calmly, watching Emma fidget in the row ahead. Her name was called for a couple of minor honors choir awards. Then, the principal stepped up to announce the major scholarships. And the recipient of this year's Principal's Award for Outstanding Academic Achievement, which comes with a significant scholarship, he boomed, pausing for dramatic effect, goes to Amelia Chen. My name, not Emma's. A ripple of surprise went through the student section. As I walked towards the stage, trying to look suitably humble and shocked, I scanned the faculty section. I saw Mrs. Davison leaning over, whispering something to Mr. Henderson, a counselor known for his ties to the admissions office of Emma's dream university. He was frowning, looking thoughtfully towards Emma, who had gone rigid in her seat. Later that day, Tyler caught me after calculus. "Hey, Amelia, that test is still looking rough. Any chance you're free to study this weekend? Seriously, you're like the only one who seems to get this stuff." This was new. In my past life, he'd only had eyes for Emma by this point. "Sure, Tyler," I smiled. "How about Saturday afternoon at the library?" During our study session, amidst explaining derivatives, I steered the conversation carefully. "It's funny," I mused, tapping my pen. "Emma's usually so good at math, but I guess everyone has off days. Remember that cheating thing back in sophomore year with the history paper? I made it up, of course, but based it on a rumor that had circulated vaguely about someone, making it sound plausible. It's weird how people can seem one way, you know?" Tyler looked up from his notes, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face. "Cheating? I never heard about that." "Oh, maybe it was kept quiet," I shrugged dismissively. "Anyway, back to implicit differentiation." He seemed thoughtful for the rest of the session, his usual laser focus on the equations occasionally drifting. Doubt, once planted, could be a powerful thing. The predictable explosion came Monday after school. Emma cornered me by the bike racks, her face flushed with anger. "What have you been telling people, Amelia? What lies are you spreading about me?" I didn't raise my voice. I didn't get defensive. I simply unlocked my phone, pulled up a screenshot from the keylogger showing my essay under her name in her university application portal, and held it out for her to see. "Lies, Emma?" I asked softly. "Or are we talking about this?" The color drained from her face. Her eyes darted around, terrified someone might see. How did you get that?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "Does it matter?" I kept my tone level. "Look, I don't want to cause trouble. Maybe we should just sit down with Mom and Dad and talk this through? Figure out what happened?" Panic flared in her eyes. No, don't, please, Amelia. She grabbed my arm. Okay, okay, I'll stay away from Tyler, completely. Just don't tell mom and dad, please. I pulled my arm away gently. I just want us all to get along, Emma. No drama. I gave her a small, tight smile. Let's just forget about it, okay? I walked away, leaving her standing there, shaking. She looked utterly bewildered, thrown off balance by my lack of hysterics, my quiet control. Round one, complete. She was rattled, and I had leverage she never expected. The relative peace didn't last long. A few weeks later, I logged into my online banking to check the balance of the small college savings account my parents had set up for me years ago. My breath caught. A significant chunk of money was missing, transferred out just 2 days prior. Destination: Emma's account. I felt a surge of the old, helpless anger, but quickly tamped it down. Confronting mom would lead to denials, excuses, maybe even accusations that I was being selfish. Emma needed it more, she'd likely say. Instead, I printed out the transaction records. Not just this recent one, but I dug deeper, finding smaller, questionable transfers over the past few years. Money moved from my account to cover Emma's band trips, her expensive art supplies, even her car insurance increase after a fender bender she'd caused. Armed with a folder full of evidence, I called my dad. My parents had divorced when I was 10, and Dad had always been distant. Loving, maybe, in his own way, but preoccupied with his new life, his new job in the city. He usually just sent checks and called on birthdays. He wasn't involved in the day-to-day drama, and Mom preferred it that way. We met for coffee near his office. I laid out the printouts on the small table between us. Dad, I began, trying to sound more hesitant than I felt. I didn't want to bother you, but I noticed some money missing from my college account, and when I looked closer... He scanned the papers, his brow furrowing deeper with each page. The distant, easygoing demeanor vanished, replaced by a quiet fury I'd rarely seen. She transferred your money? To Emma? For this? He pointed at the line item for Emma's car insurance. Without asking you? Without telling me? I didn't know what to do, I murmured, looking down at my coffee cup, playing the part of the wronged, uncertain daughter. He was silent for a long moment, his jaw tight. This stops now, he said finally, his voice firm. We're going to the bank this afternoon. We'll set up a new account, just in your name, completely separate. And I'm going to put something extra in there myself. To make things right. Your mother has gone too far this time. He looked genuinely angry, protective even. It was a side of him I hadn't seen much before. Maybe this rebirth wasn't just about revenge, but also about rebuilding bridges I hadn't known how to cross in my first life. Back home, a new idea sparked. Later that week, when I knew Emma might need to borrow my laptop again, since hers was notoriously slow, I deliberately left a browser tab open. It displayed the web page for the designer boutique in the city, showcasing their latest collection. Front and center was the dress, the breathtaking gold one I'd already purchased and hidden away. As expected, when I came back to my room later, Emma was just closing my laptop. She had a smirk on her face. Dreaming big, sis? She scoffed, gesturing towards the laptop. That gold thing? Please. Like you could ever afford that, and even if you could, you wouldn't know how to wear it. I just shrugged. It's pretty, isn't it? Let her think it was an impossible dream. The whispers started soon after. I saw Liam and Emma huddled together in the cafeteria, heads close, glancing my way occasionally. They fell silent when I walked past their table. The old me would have felt paranoia creeping in. The new me felt a detached curiosity. Later, I casually approached Liam. Hey, exciting news, I said brightly. You know my friend Chloe, the one who's into photography? She got an assignment to cover prom for the local newspaper. She's going to be taking pictures all night, focusing on candid moments and, the fashion. Liam exchanged a quick, uneasy look with Emma, who was standing nearby pretending not to listen. Oh, cool, Liam mumbled. Good. Let them know that any accidents involving my potential dress might just be caught on camera for the whole town to see. My caution was justified. A few days later, using a voice recording app on my phone, left strategically forgotten near the living room where Mom and Emma often had their hushed conversations, I caught gold. Literally. Just a little spill, Mom, Emma was saying. Like maybe cranberry juice? It stains terribly, especially on something light-colored like gold. If she actually gets that ridiculous dress, we have to be ready. Emma, be careful, Mom warned, but there was a distinct lack of disapproval in her voice. We don't want actual trouble. But yes, it would be unfortunate. If something happened to ruin such an extravagant purchase, maybe she'd learn a lesson about practicality. My hand didn't even tremble as I stopped the recording. Predictable, pathetic even. I immediately called the designer boutique. Hi, this is Amelia Chen, I said calmly. I need to make a change to my pickup date for order hash 742. Can I actually leave the dress with you until the morning of the prom? And could you possibly store it in your secure safe until then? Yes, thank you so much. The week before prom arrived like a ticking clock. Emma, suddenly helpful, offered to pick up my dry cleaning on her way home from school. I know you're busy studying, Amelia, she said sweetly. And isn't your prom dress supposed to be ready today? Oh, Emma, that's so thoughtful, I replied, matching her saccharine tone. But the gold dress isn't there. I decided to get it cleaned closer to the date. The bag just has some winter sweaters I needed done. I handed her the claim ticket for the bag containing exactly that, old, bulky sweaters. Her smile faltered for just a second before she recovered. Tyler found me studying in the library again. So, prom, he started, leaning against the bookshelf. Who are you going with? Actually, I decided to go solo this year, I said. Looking up from my book, he looked genuinely surprised. Really? Why? Just want to hang out with my friends, dance, have fun, I shrugged. No drama, though, I added, a small smile playing on my lips. I am kind of looking forward to making an entrance. His eyes held mine for a moment longer than necessary. Yeah, I bet you will. From the corner of my eye, I saw Emma watching us from behind a stack of periodicals, her face tight with unmistakable jealousy. The night before prom, my phone buzzed with a text from a friend. Hey, just heard Emma telling Sarah and Jess that the after party at the lake house is invite only, and specifically not to tell you about it. So they were trying to exclude me, again, just like last time. Instead of feeling hurt or angry, I felt amused. Did they really think that would stop me? I picked up my phone and made a call. Not to confront Emma, not to plead with my friends. I called Mr. Henderson, the owner of the upscale lakeside venue where the official after-prom party always migrated. He was an old college buddy of my dad's. Mr. Henderson, hi, it's Amelia Chen, Robert Chen's daughter. Yes, I'm doing well, thank you. Listen, I was hoping to arrange a little surprise for my friends after prom tomorrow night. Could I possibly reserve that small VIP section overlooking the lake? Sort of a last-minute surprise party thing. He chuckled. Anything for Robert's daughter. Consider it done, Amelia. No charge. Perfect. Let them have their little exclusive gathering. I'd be hosting my own, far better one, right next door. The stage was set. Prom morning dawned bright and clear. While Emma and Mom fussed over appointments at the local salon, the same one where whispers and gossip spread like wildfire. I slipped out early. My destination? A high-end spa and salon in the neighboring, much wealthier town where no one knew my name or my family's small-town drama. Hours later, pampered and polished, I felt like a different person, calm, centered, ready. Mom called while I was having my makeup professionally done. Amelia, where are you? Emma's almost ready. We wanted to take family pictures before you both left. Her voice was tight with annoyance. Sorry, Mom, I said smoothly. Got held up. Don't worry about me. I have my own ride. I'll see you at the venue, right on time. I hung up before she could argue. Later, peeking from my bedroom window, I watched Emma leave. She was wearing the champagne silk dress, looking exactly like the ghost of my past life. Mom and Dad, who had arrived for the obligatory pre-prom photos looking slightly uncomfortable as always around Mom, fussed over her, adjusting her corsage, telling her how beautiful she looked. For the first time all day, a genuine smile touched my lips. Everything was falling into place just as I'd envisioned. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Black sedan waiting at the end of the drive as arranged, Miss Chen. Your grandmother sends her regards. Miss Chen, not Amelia, it still felt unreal. Because the biggest secret, the one I hadn't even written in my journal, wasn't just about a dress. It was about her. My maternal grandmother, the matriarch of a wealthy, influential family Mom had been estranged from for years, ever since she married Dad, a man deemed far beneath their status. Mom never spoke of her, pretending that side of the family simply didn't exist. But after my rebirth, haunted by the past and uncertain of the future, I had taken a chance. I found an old address, penned a simple, heartfelt letter, and included a few recent school photos. I hadn't expected a reply. But she had replied. Cautiously at first, then with growing warmth. We'd exchanged emails, then secret phone calls, then even a few discreet visits when I claimed to be at study weekends. She saw something in me, she'd said, something her own daughter lacked. Resilience, intelligence, a quiet dignity that reminded her, strangely, of herself. She had offered help, resources, connections, asking only for discretion until I was ready. Now it was time. I took a deep breath and stepped out of my room. The dress felt like liquid gold against my skin, catching the late afternoon sun streaming through the hallway window. It wasn't just beautiful, it felt like armor, like a statement. My dad was waiting downstairs, looking slightly impatient, ready to drive me separately as we'd arranged, a small act of rebellion against Mom's insistence on a family arrival. When he saw me descending the stairs, his jaw literally dropped. He was speechless, just staring. Wow, Amelia, he finally managed, his voice thick with surprise and something else. Pride? You look incredible. The ride to the prom venue was quiet. Dad seemed lost in thought. As we pulled up, I saw the black sedan parked discreetly down the street. A man in a sharp suit stepped out as my dad's car stopped. This was Marcus, my grandmother's chief assistant. Everything is ready, Miss Chen, he murmured, opening my door. Security is clearing the path. The photographers are in position. Dad looked utterly bewildered. Security? Photographers, Amelia, what is going on? Just a little surprise, Dad. I smiled, taking Marcus's offered hand. As I stepped out of the car, the scene unfolded exactly as planned. Security personnel subtly held back the throng of students crowding the entrance. Flashes erupted, not phone cameras, but professional DSLRs wielded by photographers I didn't recognize, clearly hired for this moment. A confused murmur spread through the crowd. Who was this? Why the special treatment? Then I stepped fully into the light spilling from the venue entrance. The gold dress seemed to ignite, shimmering, flowing, utterly captivating. Whispers turned to gasps. Phones were now definitely out recording. The professional photographers moved with me, capturing every angle as Marcus escorted me towards the doors, creating an instant social media firestorm. Inside, the music seemed to stutter. Conversations died. Everyone turned to stare. And there, standing by the ubiquitous punch bowl, the irony wasn't lost on me, was Emma. Her champagne dress, which had looked so lovely earlier, now seemed ordinary, mass-produced, dull. She was frozen, her hand halfway to a plastic cup, her face a mask of shock and disbelief. Tyler, looking handsome in his tux, started moving towards me, a hopeful expression on his face. But before he could reach me, a distinguished, silver-haired man stepped smoothly into his path. Miss Chen? Amelia? The man inquired, extending a hand. Arthur Vance? I own the Vance Gallery downtown. Your grandmother shared your portfolio with me. Quite impressive. We must talk about your work. He effectively blocked Tyler, drawing me into a conversation about art, about future exhibitions, completely ignoring the high school drama swirling around us. After a few minutes, excusing myself politely from Mr. Vance, I finally approached my sister. I smiled, a genuine, uncomplicated smile. Emma, I said, my voice calm and kind. That dress really does look beautiful on you. I picked up a clean champagne flute from a nearby tray and offered it to her. Champagne? She just stared at me, completely bewildered by my lack of gloating, my unexpected kindness. Leaving her there, utterly confused, I moved through the room, greeting the few friends who hadn't bought into Emma's exclusion tactics, laughing and chatting as if this was just any other prom night. Liam appeared at my elbow, looking awkward and contrite. Amelia, hey, look, I wanted to apologize for being distant lately. I was stupid. Thank you, Liam, I said graciously, accepting his apology without dwelling on it. Actually, there's someone I'd like you to meet. I gestured to a strikingly dressed man standing nearby, observing the scene with amused detachment. Liam, this is Julian Croft. He's my grandmother's godson. Liam is a really talented songwriter. Julian Croft, an internationally famous musician and producer, though few here would likely recognize him out of context, smiled warmly at Liam. Songwriter? Excellent. Always looking for fresh talent. Perhaps you could send me some demos? My label is potentially offering a development deal for the right young artist. Liam looked like he might faint. Just then, Mom bustled in, wearing her emergency chaperone badge, though I knew she'd really come to witness my supposed social humiliation. Her eyes scanned the room, searching for me. When she spotted me, not crying in a corner, but chatting easily with Julian Croft and Liam, surrounded by a growing circle of impressed onlookers, her jaw tightened. And then, the real showstopper. The doors opened again, and my grandmother swept in. Elegant, imposing, radiating an aura of old money and absolute authority. She wore a simple but exquisitely tailored Chanel suit, her silver hair perfectly coiffed. Marcus followed discreetly behind her. The remaining chatter in the room died completely. Everyone knew who she was, even if they only knew her by reputation. She ignored everyone else, her eyes finding me immediately. She walked directly towards me, a rare, small smile touching her lips. "Amelia, my dear," she said, her voice carrying clearly in the sudden silence. She embraced me warmly. "You look magnificent." Turning slightly to address the room, but mostly the influential figures like Mr. Vance and Julian Croft, who had gravitated towards us, she announced, "For those of you who don't know, this is my granddaughter, Amelia Chen, my heir and the future president of Chen Industries." Gasps rippled through the students. Emma looked faint. Mom looked horrified. "We're also thrilled," Grandmother continued, her eyes twinkling as she looked at me, "to be establishing a significant art scholarship foundation in Amelia's name, to support talented young artists like herself." Mom, recovering slightly, tried to push forward, plastering on a shaky smile. "Mother, what a surprise! We were just talking about Amelia's accomplishments." Grandmother cut her off with a look that could freeze fire. "Indeed," she said coolly, her gaze sweeping over Mom before dismissing her entirely. "It's heartening when family recognizes true value when they see it." She then turned back to Mr. Vance. "Arthur, Amelia has already demonstrated remarkable business acumen working on some preliminary projects for the company these past few months. Quite the mind for strategy." Mom stepped back as if struck, her face pale. My grandmother had just publicly acknowledged me, elevated me, and subtly, devastatingly erased my mother from the narrative in one smooth, calculated strike. The twist wasn't just the dress. It was my entire life, rearranged and revealed. The rest of prom night passed in a blur of congratulations, curious glances, and whispered speculation. Afterward, instead of the planned exclusive gathering at the lake house Emma had arranged, the real party shifted. Somehow, word got out that my grandmother and her circle were heading back to our house for drinks. Suddenly, our modest suburban home was filled with art dealers, musicians, business people, my grandmother's influential friends mingling awkwardly with my few loyal high school friends, and a stunned dad. Emma found me in the kitchen, where I was trying to find some ice. Her makeup was smudged, tears streaming down her face. The champagne silk dress now looked rumpled and sad. "Amelia," she choked out, "I am so, so sorry. For everything. For the dress, for Tyler, for all of it. The essays, everything. I was awful, jealous. Please, can you forgive me?" Her apology felt desperate, triggered not by genuine remorse perhaps, but by the sudden drastic shift in my fortunes. I looked at her, the sister who had made my previous life a misery, and felt tired. "I hear you, Emma," I said quietly. Before I could say more, Mom appeared in the doorway, her face arranged in a mask of maternal pride. "Amelia, darling," She rushed forward, arms outstretched for an embrace. My successful daughter, I always knew you had it in you deep down. I always believed in you, even when I was pushing Emma. I just wanted you to find your own way. I instinctively stepped back, avoiding the hug. Her words rang hollow, false. All those years of dismissals, of comparisons, of neglect, they couldn't be erased by this sudden change of tune. My response was simple, quiet, but firm. No. Just no. Not angry, not accusatory, just a statement of fact. I did not accept her rewriting of history. Her smile faltered, confusion and hurt flickering in her eyes before hardening into resentment. Liam cornered me next, near the back door, holding a demo CD. Amelia, about that recording contract Julian mentioned, it's an amazing opportunity, but I need to tell you something. I almost warned Emma about your dress, that you might have something planned. I was jealous, okay? Of you. Of Tyler looking at you. I'm sorry. I listened calmly, taking the CD he offered. Thank you for your honesty, Liam, I said, my voice neutral. I appreciate the apology. I paused, then added, I'll be thinking carefully about the kind of friendships I want to invest in as I move forward. His face fell, understanding the implication. The door to easy forgiveness, to our old dynamic, was closed. Then came Tyler. He found me standing by the fireplace, watching the unfamiliar crowd in my living room. Amelia, he said softly, can we talk, for real? I nodded. Look, he sighed, running a hand through his hair, I messed up. I was interested in you, like really interested all along. Hanging out with Emma, that was mostly just a way to be near you, to get your attention. Stupid, I know. Can we maybe start over, go on a real date? His confession, which might have thrilled the old me, now just felt irrelevant. He'd still chosen the easier, more popular path. He'd still participated, however indirectly, in hurting me. I offered him a polite smile. Thank you for telling me the truth, Tyler. I appreciate your honesty. I met his hopeful gaze directly. But no, I don't think that's a good idea. Later, as the guests began to thin out, Mom made one last attempt. She approached me holding an envelope. Amelia, she said, her voice thick with forced emotion. I went to the bank. I transferred everything back into your college fund. With interest. From my own savings. She pushed the envelope into my hands. I want us to be a family again. Maybe we could try family counseling. We can fix this. Become close again. I took the envelope, glancing inside at the bank statement. The money was indeed there. Thank you, Mom, I said, tucking it into my purse. I appreciate you returning it. Then I added gently but firmly, but I've already made other arrangements. I'll be moving out next month. Grandmother has helped me find a small apartment near her estate while I start my program. The final confrontation came as Grandmother was preparing to leave. Emma, her face blotchy, made one last tearful plea. Please, Amelia, she begged, grabbing my hand. Don't shut me out completely. I know I don't deserve it, but I was always so jealous. You were always good at everything without even trying, and I felt like nothing next to you. Can't we just start over, please? I looked at my sister, really looked at her, maybe for the first time without the filter of past hurts. I saw the insecurity beneath the entitlement, the fear behind the bravado, and I realized with sudden clarity that holding onto the anger was exhausting. I forgive you, Emma, I said, and I meant it in a way. Forgiveness for my own peace, not for her absolution. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean we go back to how things were. I gently pulled my hand away. We can be civil. We'll see each other at family holidays, I suppose, but I need distance. I need to build my own life away from all of this toxicity. Mom gasped. Dad looked torn. Emma just stared, fresh tears welling. The shock in the room was palpable. They hadn't expected boundaries. They expected me to either fold or explode. This quiet refusal, this calm drawing of lines, was something they didn't know how to handle. My grandmother appeared silently at my side, placing a supportive hand on my shoulder. Her presence was an anchor. "She's made her decision," grandmother stated, her voice soft but carrying an unmistakable weight of finality. There was no room for argument. The refusal was complete. 2 years melted away like sea mist. I stood on the balcony of my grandmother's stunning villa overlooking the Mediterranean Sea. It wasn't my permanent home, but a cherished escape, a place grandmother insisted I use whenever I needed peace. The air, warm and soft, carried the scent of lemon groves from the terraced gardens below. A gentle breeze fluttered the pages of the business proposal I was reviewing, the launch plan for the Amelia Chen Arts Foundation. Grandmother had not only encouraged my artistic pursuits alongside my business training at the company, but she was actively funding this passion project, allowing me to blend the two worlds I now inhabited. A letter arrived with the Morning Post, forwarded from my apartment near the company headquarters. The handwriting was familiar but neater, more deliberate than I remembered. It was from Emma. Inside was a simple graduation announcement from the state university she'd ended up attending after the disastrous fallout from her plagiarism being discovered by her first-choice school. She'd majored in environmental science, found something that was truly hers. There was a short, handwritten note attached. "Found my own path, finally. Hope you're happy, Amelia. Maybe see you at Dad's birthday." No apologies, no demands, just an update. A sign of genuine growth, perhaps. I tucked it away, feeling a surprising sense of closure. She was no longer living in my shadow because I was no longer casting one over her. Later, I called my dad. Our relationship, tentative at first after the prom revelations, had blossomed once I'd established clear boundaries with Mom. He respected my decisions, and we'd found a new footing, connecting over shared interests and future plans rather than past grievances. We finalized plans for his upcoming visit. We were celebrating my 21st birthday together next month, exploring the coastal towns near the villa. As the sun began to dip towards the horizon, painting the sky in fiery shades of orange and pink, I walked along the private beach below the villa. The sand was cool beneath my bare feet. Grandmother joined me, walking in comfortable silence for a while before speaking, her voice softer than usual. "We need to discuss the timeline for transitioning the European operations fully under your management," she said, ever the businesswoman, but there was warmth in her eyes. We talked business for a few minutes, the details of multi-million-dollar deals mingling with the sound of the waves. Then, she paused, looking out at the endless expanse where the ocean met the sky. "Do you ever regret it, Amelia?" she asked quietly. "Any of it? The decisions you made after prom night?" I followed her gaze to the horizon, a perfect, unbroken line. I thought of the anger, the hurt, the elaborate plans for revenge. And I thought of where I was now, the peace, the purpose, the unexpected joy. The gold dress, a symbol of defiance and transformation, now hung carefully preserved. I'd even painted it, hanging empty against a window, the light turning the fabric into something ethereal, almost transcendent. That painting was due to be the centerpiece of my first solo gallery opening next month. "I regret nothing, Grandmother," I replied, my voice clear and steady. "Sometimes the most beautiful things, the truest things, can only emerge after a complete transformation, after everything burns away." My phone chimed softly in my pocket, a notification confirming the gallery opening details. I smiled. The past was the past. Revenge felt like a distant, faded photograph. I didn't need it anymore. I had something infinitely better, a future. A life that was, finally, authentically my own. As the last sliver of sun disappeared beneath the waves, I closed my eyes, breathing in the salty air, feeling a profound sense of peace that my previous life and even the turbulent path of my rebirth had never allowed. This was real. This was mine.